If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. We're ready. All right. Yay!
I know.
Okay. This is years in the making, you know this. Years in the making. Okay. Is the, well, you have a cord hanging over, but it's not in your way, right? Okay. All set. Hi, welcome to yWrite. I'm your host, Angela Grout, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of yWrite because I have an awesome guest in studio like I do every week, and we talk to them about why they're writing, what they're writing, how they wrote it, and why what they have done will inspire you to start writing too. So today I have a friend and neighbor in the studio who is an author, and her name is Diane Lyons-Frasco. Diane is a mystic, a mother, and an author from Agawam, Massachusetts, where I'm from. She is very well educated. She has 2 degrees and 4 diplomas. She has, one of them is in psychology and theology from Our Lady of the Elms in Chicopee. And, you know, for me, psychology, theology, religion, spirituality is very near and dear to my heart. So it's a subject that I love to talk about, including talking about writing. So right now I am in my element, being able to talk to someone who's doing all these things that I love. Now, Diane Lyons-Frasco is also, very talented, very gifted, and she has her God-given gifts that she uses to help people. She has written a book called Topics of Heavenly Proportions, and we're going to talk about what these heavenly proportions are because she has done some prophecies and has visions and she's witnessed miracles, and it's just going to be a great conversation. So thanks for staying online here with yWrite, and welcome to Diane Lyons-Frasco.
Thank you.
Diane, thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
So we've actually known each other, I don't know, I'm going to say almost my whole life maybe.
Probably 30 years.
Yes, I'm 30. Thank you for that. We're neighbors here in Agawam. We belong to the same parish for many, many years. And you know, you were an electrolysis for years. Also, got your little side gig everyone has. So, you know, I've known a lot about you and your family. Your husband and I worked together very closely for about a year. Her husband was an architect, and he drew up the blueprints for a cottage that I have.
Right.
So it was very nice to get to know your family.
Thank you.
And, you know, now here you've written a book.
Right. I finally wrote a book after 30 years of trying.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there is no other word except really to say congratulations for doing that, because to take the time to sit down and write is what being a writer is about.
Right.
Everyone can have an idea to write, get the experience that they want to share, but to sit down and do it, congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, I've witnessed you in church many times. You've witnessed me. You know, we are very prayerful people. I'm going to say, learned how to love God through our Catholic religion.
Correct.
You know, but being spiritual and having this connection can awaken us to see things that sometimes other people maybe don't pay attention to.
Right.
And you've written this great book called Topics of Heavenly Proportions. And, you know, tell me a little bit about why you started writing this.
Well, I've always wanted to write a book. And for years, I tried to write something for God, to do something good for God. And it just took me a long time because I have so many stories, and then I didn't have enough material, or there was always a blockage, something was in the way. So finally, I just said to Jesus, I said, you know, if you want me to write this book, why don't you just make me like your scribe and tell me what you want me to write, and I'll write it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
I
Exactly.
understand that so well because, you know, I realize our bodies are vessels, and
That's right.
what we do with our body, when we can use the gifts that we've received or the gifts that we've learned. Like for me, doing floral designing, I was always like, take my hands and let me do something useful with them.
Right.
And like, even though it was me designing the flowers, I knew it was a higher power guiding me to
Holy
do this.
Spirit, right, yes.
100%. And writing the books, I mean, same thing for me. Like when I was doing April Rain, which is a murder mystery, I had such a hard time writing it. I would sit in the church and go, if you want me to write this, you have to let me be comfortable doing this, because researching murder and it was very uncomfortable, and I kept saying you can't, I don't want to write something that's going to harm anyone or be evil in the world. I want something that's going to bring peace.
Right.
And I'm trying to solve a crime here. So there's just such a prayerful state that we go through to have the clarity of what to write.
Right.
Now, you're sharing experiences that you've had, witnesses or miracles you've witnessed.
Everything.
And, visions that you've had. And, of course,
locutions, healings.
Yeah, it's...
I'm a healer. I've gone all over the country and prayed over people, given public speeches, and people have gotten miracles.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But not everybody gets healed. If I was in charge of the healing, I'd heal everyone.
Yes.
But I'm not in charge of it.
Yes.
Jesus is. So
I get that.
Some people get healed and some people don't. And I believe they have a blockage somehow.
Yeah.
Or they don't believe that they're going to get healed, or that Jesus wants to heal them. There's some kind of block there, a spiritual block. And then they don't get healed and they wonder why.
Right.
And
it's the whole, like, you believe it, you can achieve it.
Yeah,
Mark, I'm going to quote Bible here. Mark 11:24, it talks about, like, when you ask, you receive.
Correct.
So if you're asking something in prayer, believe that you've asked it.
Yeah.
Believe in what you've asked for so that you can receive it.
Correct.
And I, love that Bible quote. And, and I just know that God is such a loving and healing God that he wants us all to be healed.
Right, right.
But like you said, it's not up to us.
Right, it's not up to us. I'm just a conduit for the healing.
Yeah.
But
and I know there's people out there who will say, like, oh, that's wrong. Like, we're not supposed to be doing that. Like the whole doing visions and readings, or and I'm like, and you can tell me if you disagree with me, but it's like, we're created in his image. We're supposed to be like Jesus. So if he's doing this, why shouldn't we be doing this?
Right, correct.
So did you struggle with any of that?
No, I started out, my first story is when I was 3, and I had my first vision, and it came true. It took 19 years before it materialized, but it came true right to the T. And I talk about that. So there's all kinds of, I have stories about my life and how God works miracles in ordinary people's lives. But people, a lot of times they don't recognize it's a miracle. They just take it for granted. But it is a total miracle.
Yeah, we woke up today.
True.
There you go. There's a miracle.
That's right.
And we sometimes just take it for granted, like, oh, tomorrow I'll do that.
Right.
Some people don't get that tomorrow.
That's
so
right,
it is the
don't.
miracle that, we have. And prayer can be very powerful. And, my mother very well. My mother's very prayerful. And I have witnessed her, I want to say, like, deliver miracles so many times. And I'm sometimes like, all right, do I need to write a story about my mother? Like, I remember this one woman years ago came into the bank where my mom was working, and, she was very upset. Her son had got diagnosed with a brain tumor. And so my mom did her novena, which a novena is where you pray kind of a consecutive prayer for 7 days, 9 days, whatever it is. And, she did this, and she hadn't seen the woman for a couple months. And then she finally saw her and said, how's your son doing? She said, oh, we brought him to a couple specialists and it disappeared.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? Like, what?
That's a miracle.
It's a miracle, my mom's dog 2 years ago was told he had like a week to live, and she doted on him, and he had a broken back, and it's been 2 years, and the dog's running around right now.
Wow.
We call him Lazarus.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And it's like, when you see prayer in action and miracles, how can you not want to share those stories?
Right. There's so many.
So how did you figure out what to include and because I know you probably had to take some out and say, okay, that maybe doesn't go in. And how did you sit down to start writing it? Did you have an outline of what you were going to do?
No, what I did was I was the scribe for heaven. And I woke up one morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's when I used to get up to drive the school bus, because I also did that.
You had so many jobs.
I know. And
degrees and diplomas and studying in schools. And
oh, yeah, everything.
Yeah.
So the Holy Spirit overshadowed me, and I could feel it. And the Holy Spirit told me the title they wanted me to name the book, Topics of Heavenly Proportions. So I woke up and I said, wow, that's a perfect title for my book. I never would have thought of it.
Yeah.
You know, I never would have thought of that. So I said, I got the title. So then every day for about 2 or 3 months, a story would come into my head, something I did or whatever. And I'd jot it down, the name of, whatever I wanted to call it. And later on, I'd bring my laptop to work during my lunch break. I had like an hour and a half break. And I'd be typing away, and I'd get it all finished in an hour and a half, the story.
Wow.
And so every morning, this went on for at least 2 months, and I got 52 stories. And I says, I guess, and then I wouldn't have any more guidance. So I said, I guess this is the whole book. So I put it together. I did as much I could with it, and it came out, and I got someone to publish it for me. My son helped me with the graphics. Paul helped me with the graphics.
Yeah, because so once you typed it all up, and then your son formatted it for you and did the cover.
I had one son. He's a computer software engineer, and he graduated from Harvard. My son Greg. So he was really good. He helped me with all the typing and printing. We went over it 100 million times trying to edit it. But Jesus Christ would not allow me to go to a professional editor, and I wanted to. But he says, Diane, I don't want you to edit the book. Just do the best you can, and if there's mistakes, just let it out. Yeah. And I said, okay, Lord, whatever you want. So there are some mistakes in the book, but
it shows that we're human.
It's just right. It's just what I did, whatever God wanted me to do, because I hear the voice of Jesus every single day. I talk to him. I ask him for his opinion on if he wants me to go someplace or not go someplace or whatever.
I'm glad he agreed to have you come here today.
Yes. So thank you. And
as he's nudging me in the middle of the night, call Diane, call Diane.
And it just, everything fell into place. I got a really great company to Millennium Press. They did the book for me, put it together. They're right in
West Springfield?
They're Agawam.
The Agawam now.
Yeah,
Agawam, yes.
They did the book for me, and my other son Paul did all the graphics on the cover.
Yeah.
And it just came all to fruition. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. And then I sat down and I said, I'm going to just take the book and read it like someone else would.
Yes.
See how it is. So I designed the stories to be short stories because some people don't have very much patience to sit there.
Right.
And they look at the pages. Oh, I got 50 pages to read for this chapter.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't sit here long enough. So I designed them really short and really sweet. So, 2 pages, 4 pages, I can do that on my lunch hour.
That's right up my alley.
5 minutes. So I did that like that. And I have the books in large print, so
I love the fonts of it.
Everything.
Yeah, it's very easy to read.
It's easy to read.
It's very easy to read. I worried about easy to read when I did my books too, because you want. I like short chapters.
Yes.
I'm actually working on like an anthology kind of like this now because I'm like, okay, a short story that doesn't necessarily have to be read in order. You could kind of just open it up, pick one, and I think it's important to just capture an audience's attention, even if it's just with one story, and then it kind of makes them want to read more. And when it's I'm going to say a little bit of a memoir. I mean, Yeah, right. This is a little bit of a memoir of your life because
Yes,
these are
it
your
is.
experiences.
Yes.
It's very personal. So, that can be a little anxiety driven, at least for me to share.
Yeah.
But, like, how did you get the book out? Like, did you share it with people before you published? Did you, just say, okay, I'm going to...
Yes, I shared it with people before I published it. And then what happened was I gave it to people who didn't like to read. Like, a lot of men don't like to read. And I'm not trying to pick on them. They just don't like to. They don't want to sit there.
Or these topics, too.
Right. And so I gave it to somebody who says, oh, I only read the newspaper. I don't like to read books. So they read it. And they read it in 1 or 2 days. They could not put it down. Because I designed it so it wasn't taxing to read it. It was like, okay, I read 4 pages. I'm golden. I can think. I said I can squeeze in another story before my lunch ends,
Yeah.
So they'd read 2. And then it seems like it's like addictive. Like, oh, I can do one more story.
Right.
Just one more story.
Well, and I think when they're short like that, like, just reading one, I'm gonna say, story, not chapter, but, reading one story, it gives you time to just digest it.
Right.
And reflect on it.
Right.
And, kind of bring in your experience into their own life. Like, oh, where have I seen something like that? Or, consider how these things happen.
Right, exactly.
So, you've had visions.
Oh, yeah, I still do.
And you write them down.
I do. I have a journal where I write them down.
And then, do you have a set time that you do it, or is it just
whenever it happens,
moved?
And I have a few minutes, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It stays in my brain until I write it down.
Yeah.
So even if 3 days go by, it's like a haunting. You got to write this down to get it out of your head.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So.
I do the same thing with the 3 a.m. wake up calls. My husband, would kind of sometimes joke because he'd see me and he's like, "You talking to someone?" I go, "Yep, my muse is here." and I have this thing where I would set a timer, and I'm like, okay, and then just scribe, as quickly as I can to get it on the page,
right.
And then sleep really well, and then wake up in the morning and reread it, and then see what needed to be edited, from an outsider's point of view and not the insider's. And I think that's when you call yourself a scribe,
yeah.
it's so old-fashioned.
It is
kind
old-fashioned.
of, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Writers are scribes. I mean, we are, using our imagination, our intuition, our experiences to share, and giving other people a piece of that helps them also, and it's healing for us too.
Right, that's right.
So he's telling you, you got to write this book.
Right.
And so talk about a little bit about that nudging.
It didn't take much for me to do it because I'd get the story and I'd just jot it down, and then I bring my laptop to work and it would just flow. The Holy Spirit was working through me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't hard for me to write the book.
How'd you come up with the cover?
Well, I met the Pope John Paul II in 1987.
All right, we're going to jump to the back cover then.
That's the back cover. Yeah.
The back cover is a picture of her and the Pope.
Right. And my son was in charge of the design and everything of the front cover and the back cover. And I was just going to have some words on the back. He says, "Oh, my, you can't have it plain like that. You got to have another picture or whatever." Yeah. I said, "Okay, well, I don't know." So he put that on. He's totally surprised me.
Yeah, it's like a little overlay. So you have the words, but you can see yourself with the Pope and, the talking. And then, you have the beautiful prayerful hands.
Right. Well, years ago, I had a vision with praying hands like this that appeared to me when I was 15. And God the Father spoke to me, and he told me everything that would happen to the world in my lifetime. And so many things have come true in that journey.
Yeah.
And he spoke about the sin of abortion. But when I was that age, I didn't know what the word abortion meant. So he didn't say the word abortion. He just told me that when I turned 18, he said the world would be steeped in a most serious sin. I thought, well, how can the world go in 3 years from 15 to 18 to this sin? And it did happen, and it took me a while to figure it out what it was that he was talking about. And it happened, and heaven is not happy with that at all. People might disagree with me, but that's what heaven is in charge of, what they say.
Yeah.
So I was also told about the disasters that are coming and everything else. So it's important to get your soul in a state of grace.
Yeah, and I've had some visions like that, and I remember once having, not understanding at first, kind of woke up in the middle of the night and had to write it down, and I was laying on my couch. The vision was I was laying on my couch covered in bandages.
Wow.
And someone had attacked me. And it was awful. I was like, oh my gosh. And the vision I had was it was somebody that I was in a relationship with. And so I literally wake up my husband and I'm like, I just had this thought, you're going to hurt me one day. And he's like looking at me like, you are psychotic right now. And I'm like, I don't know. It was so real. And it was just like I didn't understand it, So then I'm just like, okay, if you're showing me this vision, don't show me something where if I can't prevent it. Like, I want to pray and prevent this from happening. So now I'm going to pray like crazy and say, please don't let this, happen or whatever. Well, a month later, my girlfriend got stabbed 19 times.
Wow.
Total miracle. It's a whole nother story that I have with Sister Maria Faustina and Pope John Paul. Wow. And I mean, she was miraculously saved. And when she was discharged from the hospital, she came to live with me and I took care of her. And I came home one day and she was laying on the couch, covered in bandages, and we looked similar. And all of a sudden, that moment, I was like, "This is like the vision I had." I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!"
Wow.
And it was just like in that moment, I was like, "Okay, well, thank you for letting her be okay. Thank you for letting it not be me." But it was just like, okay, I don't know if I want that kind of gift, And there's gifts, so many different gifts, the gifts of knowledge and wisdom and healing and prophecy and visions. And, I mean, if you know your Bible, it's in Corinthians. But, it's like, I was like, I don't know if I want that gift, And this is things, where I'll, say to, the priest and things like, okay, you're not supposed to do this, but yeah, it's in the Bible that people get these gifts. So if you have this gift, why aren't you using it?
Right.
And for good, You
have to use it. With the gift comes the responsibility of using it.
Yes. And, I think, prayer is important because if you do get those visions, like you said, talking about how the world, all of a sudden this abortion topic was going to be really big by the time, you were 18 years old, which is right around the time, what Roe versus Wade and all that was going down. Not to give away your age, but, it's okay. Like there is, the way of prayer to help,
right exactly.
Like it's the weapon we have.
That's right.
Or
That's true.
Some people call it wishes or manifestations or prayer, meditation.
Right. Well, I never wanted the gift of healing. Years ago, God does have a sense of humor. Years ago, I was attending a conference with some friends, and we went to see another lady who was a visionary.
Yeah.
And she spoke for like 45 minutes. And she had the relic of the true cross. There was like 200 people in the audience. And she went around praying over every single person. And I said, oh, better her than me. I said, I never want to have the gift of healing. Oh, my goodness, And sure enough, God gave me the gift of healing. And then I was going around the country, giving speeches and praying over like 100 people. And I was exhausted. But a lot of people got miracles, and I was like flabbergasted. I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to take on the person's pain in order for them to get healed. So I have that empath process going on as well. Yeah. So then when the pain ends with me, I know they got healed.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. Being an empath can be hard because I'll say sometimes, like, is this my pain or is this someone else's pain?
Right.
Like, I'll be like, okay, am I really having a heart attack right now? Or am I just feeling this? So, and a lot of people are empaths and, don't understand what that is.
Right,
so,
right.
It's good. You have a presence on YouTube.
Yes.
Where, it's your own channel and you talk and share these things.
I don't have, well, I can put I did it once.
Okay.
I put my own stuff out there. But then I was invited on the Jenny Lynn show twice.
Mm-hmm.
So I have about 3.
Yeah, but they're powerful.
Yeah. And then I was thinking about doing another one, and I said, and then you invited me here, so.
I know. So now you're going to be on
number 4.
You're going to be on YouTube again. It's important for people to understand the different gifts that everybody has. I mean, some people have the gift of writing, completely fictional tales like Harry Potter, and other people have the gift of telling memoirs, and other people are, willing to share the relationship that they have with God and what it can do for you and others.
Right.
So it's really important. This book is available online, right?
Right.
So can you want to tell us where we can get it? Because I think everybody should read it.
Well, the book, I have an ebook out that is on Amazon. You can purchase the ebook. Mm-hmm. But this book, you have to get through my website, topicsofheavenlyproportions.com.
Yeah, which is the title of the book.
Just at added.com. And then it will pop up, and you can order it on Square. Mm-hmm. Or you could write to me if you want, and write to...
your email?
You can write to my email, purplelady5657 at yahoo.com.
Love the Purple Lady.
Yes.
I have a blog that's, Purple Angel Flower.
Oh, I like that.
The Purple Lady and the Purple Angel Flower. Really so yeah, I'll put the links in with this YouTube channel so that people can click in and check it out. And it's fascinating to read, what somebody scribes from heaven,
Yes.
knowing that it's a direct channel. So
right, it's a direct channel.
Like I said, congratulations.
Well, thank you
You're
very
very
much.
brave to be out there and doing this. Did you see the vision of this book getting published years ago?
Well, I just knew if all these messages were coming through me and I was supposed to write it down, I was given the title of the book, I knew that God would work it out in His time. Yeah. So I'm just allowing God to do His thing, Yeah. So whatever happens, happens. And
yeah, I got the title for Angel's Journey that way.
Yeah, did you?
And I was like, that's it? Oh, okay. So I was like, what am I going to call this book? And it was after I wrote it.
Oh.
But I was like, okay. Because I was like, I don't know what I'm calling this book. I don't know.
Well, that was interesting.
Writing and I heard like, in 20 years it's going to be really important, this book. And I was like, okay. And almost 20 years to the day, the girl that inspired me to write this book that I was a little bit of a scribe for, I happened to meet her cousin who was like her best friend.
Wow.
We just had this serendipitous moment, and the two of us were like, what? And she's like, you don't know my cousin? I'm like, oh, I know your cousin very well. Like, but never met her when she was alive. But then again, I say I didn't meet Jesus when he was alive. Mm-hmm. And I have a good relationship with him.
Yes,
and
great.
You do too?
I do too, yes.
So, it's been wonderful. I could talk to you for hours about this.
Thank you.
I'm excited that the audience can hear about, Diane Lyons-Frasco and her topics of heavenly proportion, and find out more about you on your website and the healings that you do and how they can get in touch with you.
Right. And they can also, if people don't have a computer, they could write to the Southwick Post Office. It's on, it's College Highway.
College Highway.
I don't know if it's 653, the number. I can't remember, but maybe.
Yeah, but you write Southwick Post Office 01077.
Yeah, and I have a P.O. Box 1426, Southwick, Mass. 01077.
Okay.
So the people that don't have computers, they might want to write to me.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
They can
send
always me a check or whatever.
Yeah, they can make a comment below here on this channel, and I can get it to you too.
Yeah.
So
great.
thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
God bless you. Continue the work that you're doing.
Thank
and I want to thank you, my studio audience. Well, it's not in the studio, but you're at home, so I'm calling that the studio. Thank you so much for tuning into the show every week and letting me do what I love, which is talking about writing and talking about why people are doing what they're doing. And, I know that some of you out there are very interested in reading books, so you've met the authors, you know why they've written, you know a little bit about what they've written. So please support the authors who have come on the show, purchase their books and read them. And for you writers out there, it's important to read if you're a writer. But, the ones that are listening who are saying, what, I want to be able to tell a story. I have a story, or I have a mystical experience, or I've witnessed a miracle in my life, and I would like to share that. it's important that you do. You need to listen to that call. And hopefully this show, Talking with Diane Lyons-Frasco, and the conversation that we just had, it will inspire you to just start doing that. Whether you're going to do a blog post, or you're going to post something on Facebook, or you're actually going to sit down and write and then publish a book, whether it's for your family, your friends, or for the world to read, it needs to be done. So today, this is the time in the show where I'm going to give you a writing prompt and say, start writing. Pick up your pen. When the show ends, pick up your pen, grab your notebook or your paper, and set your timer for 5 or 6 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. And just start writing. Take your pen, put it on the page, and feel the flow. Just be guided. Be guided. Talk to your inner self. Talk to God, the universe, and you'll know exactly what you're supposed to be writing. And if you don't, you just start writing, what should I be writing about? Literally write those words, and you're going to find the answer on the page. So enjoy writing today. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of yWrite. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and have a wonderful day. I will see you next time.